Dusty and I is not a clean and sober place on most days, but it's definitely been worse the past 24 hours. So
Yes.
all of us who have children, i.e. Rust and Dusty, have been brought down to earth this week. I am avoiding that so far because I don't have kids, thank God, right now. This is the time of year where everybody gets sick because they all have little germ factories, and I'm avoiding that. But in his stead, one Will Ortner, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay. Yeah, that's about the right amount of approval for it. No, I don't. The clapping's going to be too much.
We'll slow there.
A brief yay and like that's about all I deserve. I'm no great Dusty Hera, although I want to know more about this group chat. Like, is Dusty and are you guys playing Battle Poops or something like that? Is that what's going down in there?
There may or may not have been a bridesmaid's gif of it's coming out of me like lava.
Yeah.
I was thinking the Dumb and Dumber scene where Jeff Daniels sitting on the toilet.
Yeah.
You ever done that to somebody?
Sent Battle Poops?
No. Disrupted their bowels intentionally.
Oh, like gave them laxatives?
Mm-hmm.
No, I watched a roommate do it to himself.
I did get close one time as a bartender to putting the eye drops in the drink, and I was like, I'm not gonna cross this bridge.
That's the one that I saw.
Does that have the same effect?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Whatever's in Visine makes your stomach.
It's meant for your eyes.
Yeah, it turns.
Well, yeah,
but it turns your it turns your look. It's clear eyes, clear colon. It's
clear out the bowels.
Yeah, no. What's his name? Ben Stein.
Oh yeah.
Clear eyes, red eyes. No.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going like a Coach Taylor, clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
No, do you remember that commercial?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, he had the whole line of clear eyes commercials.
Yeah, it was insane.
Anyone?
Yeah. I always have to forget. Will Ortner, ladies and gentlemen, is a child and does not have any references to anything to like pre-2007.
I have some random references from the past, but yeah, it's really like 2006, 2007. That's where I really come into the pop culture lexicon.
Everything else is fuzzy after that.
We did figure out this morning that he has to add there's something about Mary to his watch list.
Yes, and that is one that I will see.
How?
See, here's the thing. That's
How
one
have
that
you not seen that?
I don't know. It just never came up. It's not like I think my dad's talked about it before a little bit, so I think he liked it, but it's never been something where it's like it's popped on. I'm also, if I see a movie or something that I think I might want to watch and it pops on TNT or TBS, I will on purpose not watch it because I don't want the TV version.
Right. That's
a good move. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the first 15 minutes of that movie.
That movie was kind of at the forefront of that era of the raunchy comedies.
Yes.
Well, and it's Diaz, Stiller, and Wilson, right? Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, Cameron Diaz?
No,
not Owen Wilson. There's a Matt Dillon in there.
Yeah,
Matt Dillon. Maybe that's who I'm confusing. It's Matt Dillon,
Chris
not
Elliott.
Owen Wilson.
Yeah, Chris Elliott.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is Twigs and Berries. Have you seen my baseball?
Franks and Beans.
Franks and Beans.
Yeah.
Oh God,
I know there's a hair gel thing there.
What about
Yeah.
Brett Favre?
Yeah, there's so much in there that is just
Yeah, there's lots of one-liners from that one.
See, that's one I'll check out.
Hitchhiker.
Yes, the Hitchhiker. No, 7-minute abs.
See, the 7-minute abs? Where's that? I want to get on that. See, that's one that I will check out, though, because
1 minute faster.
It's not that old of a movie, and it has people that I actually like. Like, I'm not going to go back and watch Animal House. To me, I'm not going to get any of the references. I'm too old. I'm not going to do it.
It's still one of those you should watch like once, just so you know what's happening.
I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, so like for me, that would be like 16 Candles or The Breakfast Club. My mom or my dad, when I was sick, they made me watch it once.
Uh-huh.
I get it. I'm never going to go back to it. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I hated both
that
those
one.
movies.
Might get watched a couple times.
Yeah, I'm guessing one spot more so than the others.
Yeah.
That one was on a loop. Look, there was a point in college
like with the Blockbuster,
Yeah.
like the
Why
most.
is this videotape all worn out in this one spot?
Yeah, it's like the Blockbuster tapes that are most worn out in singular spots. It was like, the most rewound spot in history. Fatal Instinct. Wow, look at that.
Or Basic Instinct.
Fatal Instinct.
Yes.
Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I know with Fast Times at Ridgemont High is in college, my first apartment, I didn't know that you had to call the Wi-Fi spot before to get in. Like, I thought you just called day of and they showed up. Like I was really, you think I'm dumb now? Check me out at 19. And so I called them the day I moved in. I was like, hey, like I need Wi-Fi. They're like, sick, dude. We'll be there in 2 weeks. I was like, oh crap. So what am I going to do? So I couldn't play video games. I couldn't really be on my phone because I didn't have unlimited data, but my roommate had like 4 old movies. So I watched Dirty Grandpa, The Other Guys, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and I think Step Brothers. And I watched those 4 movies on a loop every single day after football, between football and work.
Now, nothing against Robert De Niro or anything, but one of those films is not like the others. Yeah. In terms of the quality.
Hey, Dirty Grandpa makes me laugh.
It's got some
every
moments.
time.
It's got some moments.
I'm also like,
it's a great one.
I'm way into Aubrey Plaza, so that kind of helps.
Let
too.
he who is not cast the first stone.
Yeah. What?
She's fantastic. She makes me laugh.
Yeah. No, she's funny as hell.
You're not in?
What, on Aubrey Plaza?
Yeah.
No, I got no issue with Aubrey
okay,
Plaza.
I was gonna say, I was like,
what is it? I believe her Twitter handle's like Evil Hag.
That's her Twitter handle. That's fantastic.
oh, that's fantastic. That's perfect.
Yeah, kind of fits.
Yeah, no, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all wrong about that. Well, it is a Thursday.
Yeah.
We do have a guest coming in today.
Ooh.
Jeremiah Coughlin, the hilarious, the funny, the wonderful Jeremiah Coughlin. He's coming in. We have comedians come in that we like, that we know, when they're promoting stuff. And he is promoting he's going to be taping his special coming up. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
That'll be fun. You don't know Jeremiah, do you?
I do not. I texted. I have a stand-up bro. My bro who does and watches like Kill Tony and is all up on the comedians. And so he's giving me a little bit of a rundown of Jeremiah. So I am excited. And I have lots of questions about comedy in general. So I'm excited to have him in here. I'm excited to learn. I want to know like how a special works, how albums are made for comedians. Could he win a Grammy? How does that all happen?
Are you one of those people who like secretly wants to go try stand-up comedy once?
Yes. 100%. Not even like secretly. It'll never happen because I won't take the time to write any jokes. But I do genuinely think that it would be something fun to try. It's like karaoke, except like way harder. Like I'm a horrible singer. I've got nothing on what Schultz and what Patrick Harris were bringing down on the croon tunes.
Who won?
I don't even know.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I
think the last I heard it was pretty close, but I think Schultze was edging him out in the competition.
He had a more traditional voice, I think. Patrick had more of the growl, but both were
He's
great.
A bit gravelly.
And they're both great in their own right.
Yeah.
Will Ortner's
different styles.
Will Ortner's got nothing on them. Like we
do need
dominate.
to have a 1080 the fan.
We need to do like a karaoke night.
Yeah.
No,
that needs to happen.
We got to get sales on that.
It's Johnny Cash only for Will. We're talk singing. There's no vocal notes.
Nothing wrong with knowing your wheelhouse.
No. Look, friend of the show, Joe Simons. He is. We've done some karaoke in the past, and he has explicitly stated he goes and he does songs that only he can sell.
Oh, that's awesome!
Like, and I don't mean like sing. I mean like physically sell.
Oh, he's like getting into it.
Oh, he's getting into it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm.
Gotta pour some sugar on me.
Yeah, no, like exactly. Yeah, he's
cherry pie.
He's 100%. He's got a couple songs he'll really sing too. Because Joe's got like, I mean, if you've ever heard Joe's voice, like
he's got it. He's got the pipes.
Well, I mean, he's got one of the best like radio voices you'll ever hear. That's why he does what he does.
For sure.
It's very frustrating because much like Patrick Harris, you're like, oh, you're just born with that?
Like, that's sick.
No, yeah, you just have that voice. That must be cool.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I hear my voice and I want to freaking unalive myself, and it's like it's the most frustrating thing is back before I did anything that showed my face, i.e. TV or streaming or anything along those lines, I got the oh wow, you look way different than you sound.
Really?
Endlessly. And
I think a lot of people get that.
Well, this was before I put on 80 pounds.
Yeah.
Even then everybody's like, no. I think Patrick Harris probably gets that more than any of us.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising when you
hear
first
the voice
meet Patrick
and you don't see him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, like how he carries himself, how he wears his like the clothes he wears, it totally fits. The fact that he's big into beers totally all fits his voice. I think it's really just a height thing, not to be making fun of people.
Wow, that sounds like height shaming.
Well, I got height shamed yesterday, so I'm
By who?
12-year-olds. They're very mean.
Oh, they did call you like Gigantor or something?
Yeah, pretty much. They said I was scary because I was too tall. Look, I'm working through it. It's things that I deal with in my life.
Yeah, that's one of those things. I don't think you're ever going to give up. Yeah, no, it's really terrible being tall.
No, I mean, like, there's things that are hard for me. Getting into an airplane, it's difficult. I hit my head on the ceiling, dude.
What?
Yeah, like the small ones, not the normal ones.
I was saying, like, what? Like I see very large people get on airplanes regularly, and they're fine. They got a little duck under. You know you can duck, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to get a hunchback.
Are you telling me you think you can get a hunchback by bending over once?
No, but if I sit in like this position all day, every day, yeah, I totally could. It's why like you got to go to the gym and you got to do things to correct it. It's why you got to do like the couch stretch and other stretches like that to correct all the sitting. Same thing with like your shoulders. You don't want your shoulders to roll forward. You got to do different things to roll your shoulders back. So you're in a more natural position.
You're doing exercises.
I do, yeah.
To counteract the times that you get on a plane.
No, not just the times that I get on a plane, but like if you bench press all the time, right? Like you go in and say you bench press twice a week. Your shoulders are naturally going to roll forward because you're working out the muscles in the front of your chest and in the front of your shoulders. So that's naturally going to roll your shoulders forward.
Sure.
That's also the same if you're hunching over and you're leaning over the whole time. It's going to pull your body forward.
Oh, you mean
so
like
you have to do
doing a radio show for 3 hours a day?
It's possible, right? So you have to do other exercises like face pulls or, reverse flies, working on those rear delts, stuff like that to help pull your shoulders back so you're in a more natural position. I think about these things too much, but I do them.
I'm surprised you think about things.
I think about a lot of things. It doesn't make sense. My mind is an enigma.
What kind of things we thinking about on a daily basis? Like what
right now?
Yeah.
How long is Draymond going to get suspended?
Which we'll talk about today. That'll definitely be there. The indefinite suspension and now further clarification, i.e. walking back by the NBA of the Draymond Green suspension. We're going to be basketball heavy today, not just because Dusty's out and I get to rule the roost here, but I mean, that's part of it. Let's be clear. But also it's not a football Friday, but it's a basketball heavy day because Giannis did some crazy stuff. Draymond did some crazy stuff. We're going to talk some Blazers. Look at this, Jeff Russ, paying attention as you heard in Jeff Russ' update.
Ooh.
The Blazers are favored for the very first time this season. I thought we were going to make it a couple more days. I'm not kidding.
There's been movement on it too since it opened last night.
It's at 1.5 now, right?
No, it started at 1.5 last night. It's at 3.5.
Oh, it's been bet up.
Yes.
Well, the Jazz are in a back-to-back, and they are shorthanded, and the Blazers are getting healthy, and the Blazers are at home. So typically all those things kind of play in the Blazers' favor. But we will kind of dive into some Blazer stuff because Shaedon Sharpe is having a hell of a little run right now that's pretty damn impressive. And just kind of take a look at where the Blazers are right now. Now that, crazily enough, they're a quarter of the way into the season, more than a quarter of the way into the season. That's the one thing about the NBA is like, oh, the season starts, and then you're like, it hasn't really gone by that fast. And you look down, you're like, they've played 30 games. Like, what the hell happened? You get there very quickly.
I think we're at 6-16.
Yeah, it's 6 and 16 right now. So you're 22 games, so you're already more than a quarter of the season in, and it's. I think it's time to do a quick little health check, see kind of where they're at heading into tonight. And then we'll find some football in there. I swear, we'll find some football in there.
There is a game tonight, allegedly.
What's the first bowl game we got tonight?
No, I was talking NFL.
You got the.
Oh yeah, no.
You got the hockey stick starting at quarterback for the Chargers.
Yeah, Easton stick. Yeah, make sure you bring your Easton stick in your stick bag. He's very excited about playing. I saw that come up a little bit earlier. We'll lightly talk about that. Oregon State's schedule for next year has just been revealed, so we'll dive into that. And also, Oregon State's quarterback is going somewhere else. But first, we are going to start with the biggest, I guess, sports news. Draymond Green suspended indefinitely. What does that mean for him, the Warriors, the NBA, and the Trailblazers, who own the rights to their 2024 NBA draft pick? Coming up here on Danny and Dusty today, The Fan. indefinitely. Suspended indefinitely. Dun, 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 dun.
Sounds a lot more dire than it turns out to be most of the time.
It absolutely does. And that's a big part of this, is that when it first happened, I'm sitting there watching NBA TV, and I'm seeing Steve Smith, and I'm seeing Jamal Crawford, who, they're part of the Brotherhood. They're former NBA players, and they're not going to do. It was actually pretty funny. Jamal Crawford was like, well, you should know, Draymond Green off the court, great dude. In fact, last time I was talking to him, he was actually he was on the road, and he went and visited a kid's birthday party for a surprise to go, make his day. And I'm just like, are we really doing the charity off the court stuff? Like, he's not in a RICO case.
Well, yeah, it's like when you find the killer down the street and they're like, boy, he just seemed like a quiet guy, was always waving at us and stuff.
Yeah. Well, the waving was probably also a spinning back fist. That's the other part of this, is that we talked about this the other day when this first was announced, and Draymond Green having the audacity, the balls to say that it wasn't intentional. I may just have somebody videotape me reenacting Draymond Green, just to kind of show how absolutely bat-ass crazy it is to say that is unintentional. Because if you even remotely think about it, if you're facing forward and you're spinning your right shoulder forward, your left shoulder back, your left arm loops around.
Right.
That's the one you would expect to land the backhand. Right?
If it was an accident.
Sure.
Yes.
Not spin around completely and bring your right arm from the bottom to the top with a side fist to the side of somebody's face.
Right.
And also having it accelerate further as you just happen to glance at where it would land.
Look, I think what you're seeing is the end of Draymond Green. Draymond Green, for so long, was such a pivotal part of that franchise, not just because he was their quote-unquote enforcer, but a lot of the things that he was able to do defensively and facilitating the ball to Curry, Thompson, different iterations, had Barnes, Wiggins, whoever you want to throw in there. He was a large focal piece to that. But Draymond Green is starting to get old. He's a part of new media, so I bet you some of his attention is starting to go to his podcast, which does pretty well. And what you're also starting to see is as he ages, he's losing a step. He's the type of player, I feel like, especially defensively, that once you lose a step, you're done. Like, his athleticism, his game wasn't going to allow him to lose a step. And you can totally correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong in that sense. I think he never really relied on his athleticism to begin with. It was more of his IQ paired with a unique, it's a unique kind. It's not that he's not athletic. It's just, it's not Derrick Rose, John, like everybody.
Yeah, no, he's.
When you talk about NBA athleticism, you always think of like the 0.1%. And
right.
Like, no. There's different types of athleticism, particularly in the NBA. But I think there's definitely some truth to that, to him slowing down, to becoming a gray beard. But also, like, he's just been unchecked. He's been unchecked. I mean, he literally slumped a teammate, and the league was like, nah, we'll let the team handle that.
See, but again, I think he's, the teammate thing aside, that's different. That's two guys who don't like each other.
And then they shipped out the teammate.
Yeah, and then
right.
But how about intentionally kicking a guy in the balls?
See, and that's where I'm saying,
choking somebody out.
And that's what I'm saying. The stuff that you're seeing the last 2 years, I would make an argument it's almost more of a frustration thing for him, because he can't do what he used to do. And so how does he get away with that? Or how does he still have the impact? Or how do teams account for his defensive ability? Is by being a crazy person and hurting others. And now you're seeing that these suspensions that are coming down, because the league has to punish him, because he's getting to a point where in the 90s, it's probably a 1 or 2 game suspension, right? They're going to let it fly a little bit more. In today's day and age, you don't want that. That's not good for the game. And it's going to diminish a lot of, offensive ability, or a lot of they don't want to go back to the old school Pistons. They don't want to go back to bad boy Pistons teams doing that. And I think that Draymond has realized, at least to a degree, he kind of has to rely on some of that to get done what he needs to get done. Because if you kick a dude in the balls, right? Let's say he kicks a dude in the balls. He's done it multiple times. He does it on purpose. He goes out and he gets suspended for 4 or 5 games. The next time he plays that dude, I bet you that guy's a little nervous to go into the paint. I bet you that guy thinks
it's all done with intent. Look, he intentionally knocked the living crap out of Yusuf Nurkic.
Yes, and
that was 100% with intent.
And he's doing it because he knows that if he sees Nurk again, Nurk's going to think twice about it.
Well, or on the other hand, you get those opponents that'll be like, I'm going to needle the hell out of him and see what I can force him into, see what I can make him do, and get pissed off and do something stupid
and get ejected, which he has now done 3 times this year. Adrian Wojnarowski, again of ESPN, tweeted out last night, Draymond Green, Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy Jr., Jesuits own, and Green's agent Rich Paul of Clutch Sports are expected to meet Thursday to start discussing a path of counseling and help for Green to move forward. The league didn't want to put a specific number on the suspension, but allow Green to take the time he might need to deal with challenges he's facing. I don't like the excusatory nature of this, the challenges he's facing. Look.
His anger issues?
You can say what you want, and he could be going through some stuff. It does not excuse it. It does not excuse it. We could all be going through stuff in our lives. It doesn't mean I can come on here and bleepity, bleepity, bleep, bleep, bleep all over the radio without ramifications.
Right.
So this whole idea of like, well, we need to make sure we really focus on what's coming out of this. And it feels like
focus on the other players that he's assaulting on the basketball court.
And that's where I'm at with this. Like, that's where we're landing. Just a little bit ago, Kendra Andrews of ESPN stated on Twitter again, Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. says that he and Draymond Green's camp work with the league to come up with the indefinite suspension. The quote from Dunleavy goes as such, "We understand there's a punishment that will take place, but this is also about helping somebody. They 100% agreed. So did Draymond."
Well, if he goes down to Florida for like 2 days, he'll be cured.
That's literally exactly.
I mean, that's what happened to Ja Morant, right?
3 days.
He's never had any issues ever since, right?
No, he definitely didn't brandish a gun on video again weeks later.
Well, but Danny, the rap song was talking about guns.
It's true.
I always brandish my guns. I mean, when I listen to my rap songs,
pull out the blicky when you can. That's what I always say.
Going back to the 90s, blaming rap music and video games for violence.
Yes, and that's it feels like we're in the Venn diagram crossing over here with like, well, Draymond's dealing with stuff. I bet you in the league of 475 grown men with millions of dollars and lots of free time, I bet you there's a lot of people dealing with a lot of stuff. Yeah. And yet I don't see them kicking guys in the nuts, spinning back fists, choking people. I mean, not without paying extra for it off the court.
Right.
And yet we still don't hear about it. Yeah, I snuck that in.
Yeah, no, it was a joke grenade there. It hit me about 2 seconds later. It's like, oh, I see what you did. I think with this though, I think Draymond knows that he's gonna obviously he's gonna eat a suspension. He's probably gonna eat a large suspension. It might be 25 games. I think he's in more control than what some people are saying, or at least they're trying to put out there, because I think that he knows he has truly lost a step. And for him to stay at the level that he was at, he has to intimidate people. And this is how he's doing it. I'm going to hit someone. I'm going to choke someone out. I am the enforcer, and I'm at the tail end of my career. If I do these things, people will be scared of me, and they will not play me the same way. If they do that, I can survive for another year or two.
This is an interesting text. Do you think this tarnishes do you think this tarnishes Green's Hall of Fame resume? Does it jeopardize his place in the Hall of Fame of basketball? That on the Vancouver Ford text lines. All texts to the fan are via the Vancouver Ford text line. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after sale. Visit VancouverFord.com. 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line, where you can also be a part of the show. And I think that's actually a great question. Does all this ignorance and stupidity tarnish Draymond Green's Hall of Fame resume, like his transition into the hallowed greats? Does this make you think anything less of him as it pertains to his career and everything else that comes out of that? I think it's an interesting talk point, and we'll get to that here coming up here on Danny and Dusty 10 in the Fan. But first, here's the Big Kahuna with the Sports Center update.
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, serving Portland, Southwest Washington, and the Gorge. Online at aneheatingandcooling.com. It's hard to stop a train. First on The Fan, Chargers at the Raiders starts Week 15 in the NFL. Easton Stick and Aiden O'Connell are your starters at quarterback if your television's not allergic to it. 5:15 kick on Prime Video. The Raiders are 3-point favorites. The next two installments of the Civil War are now scheduled. Oregon will play at Reser Stadium September 14th, 2024, while Oregon State will visit Autzen on September 20th, 2025. Oregon State landing a couple transfer commits this morning. TCU cornerback Mason White and Middle Tennessee State safety Jacoby Thomas. And meanwhile, Aiden Childs announced he is officially following Jonathan Smith and transferring to Michigan State. Trailblazers back at Moda Center tonight, hosting the Jazz, starting a stretch of 8 of the next 9 games at home. 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports Plus. Jeremy Grant remains in concussion protocol and is out. DeAndre Ayton, Malcolm Brogdon, both questionable. The Blazers favorites for the first time this season, with the spreads currently standing at 3.5 points. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
The original home of The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Weekdays 9 to noon. 1080 The Fan.
especially with the NBA Hall of Fame, where let's call a spade here. It is
not the NBA Hall of Fame. It is the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Same thing.
Absolutely not.
Look, the Basketball Hall of Fame, it's the easiest one to get into.
Yes and no. Number one, there's a broader area to come into it from.
Fair.
Number two, there's a much larger pool to choose from in the sense of it's quite literally a global game. The NFL is not a global game.
Right. And the MLB is the MLB Hall of Fame.
And not only that, it's very limiting, but also the MLB Hall of Fame is the most strict. They pride themselves on 100%. Being the most strict.
Right. NFL is in the middle. And then the Basketball Hall of Fame, I get that it's okay. So I get that it's not the NBA Hall of Fame per se.
And
right?
It's not, and I don't think it's that easy to make.
I'm not saying that it's easy. If anyone ever tells you it's easy to make the Hall of Fame, it's easy to make, the All League, the honor, the All Decade team, that's a lie. But just comparatively between the three major sports here, I think even the NHL, you want to throw them in as the four. I feel like the Basketball Hall of Fame is the one where there are more people that make it in where you go, was that guy really a Hall of Famer? As opposed to like baseball, you're mad at people that they leave out. NFL, there's a few where it's like, was that guy really a Hall of Famer? But I feel like when I look at basketball, and some of it too is, basketball is lower on my radar than most people.
For sure.
But I just remember, like, to me, you see some of these people and you're like, wow, they had these great stretches where they were a top 15, top 10 player in the NBA. But I feel like they didn't have the longevity that you might need or deserve to get in.
It's entirely fair. And let's make the case here real quick for Draymond Green's Hall of Fame candidacy. Okay. He is an eight-time all-defensive team member.
Yep.
He has made one All-NBA team, two All-NBA teams in 15-16 and 16-17. Mm-hmm. He is a four-time All-Star. He is a one-time Defensive Player of the Year, and you should argue, or you you should argue that he should be at least a two or a three-time Defensive Player of the Year. And he has is part of four NBA titles.
Yeah, and I think he's a major part of those four NBA titles.
To me, in my opinion, with the exception of the Kevin Durant title, he was the second most important part of those teams. The first part being Steph Curry.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fair. Like, casual fans, people more like me are going to notice Clay, or, there was one where Harrison Barnes had a really good one. Andrew Wiggins had a really good finals as well, where those guys are going to stand out more to me. But your true basketball heads like you, Danny, you're going to be able to see those things. But even from my spot as a casual NBA fan, you can look, and if you watch and truly sit down and you watch all four quarters.
He's a basketball savant.
He is so incredibly smart, and he's super unselfish. He doesn't mind not getting the stats, because when you look at his stats,
his career stats, he averages 9-7 and 5.
The triple single is not going to get most people into the Hall of Fame. But when you look at what he does defensively, when you look at what he does facilitating the offense, facilitating the ball, and being, like, let's call a spade, he was their enforcer. He was their tough guy. He was the one who kept people away from Steph and kept people away from Clay and all of the other great shooters that they've had on these teams. So I think when you truly watch Draymond Green, he is a Hall of Famer. But I feel like he's going to get a similar treatment to, like, he's probably a better version comparing sports to like a Julian Edelman for his resume. When you look at Julian Edelman, he's not going to have the stats. He just isn't. But when you look at him in big time moments for those Patriots teams that he was on, he facilitated a large part of that offense. He was the number 2 or number 3 guy because he was Tom's favorite wide receiver target. And whenever they needed a big catch,
there's an element of the favorite part of this because Draymond Green was Draymond Green allowed Steph Curry to be the best version of Steph Curry. And anybody in the NBA knows that. That's the reality of it. Not only does he take on the most difficult defensive assignment, right, but his facilitating and working as a four-on, like, this is a guy who everybody talks about, well, he's got no offensive value, in his prime, this is a guy who was very capable of getting you 10 plus assists a night. Like, that's out of a defensive player. And don't get it twisted. Draymond Green fundamentally changed how we structure and build teams because of his defensive prowess. And that's why I look at it like when you're talking about Hall of Fame candidacy across whatever sport, one of the things that I always look at is, can you tell a story of an era without that player? And if the answer is no, I don't care what the stats are.
I think that's fair. That's a fair guideline to how to make the Hall of Fame. And you cannot tell the story of the NBA without Draymond.
The last 8 years, Steph Curry has been that guy, but right there alongside him, everybody wants to go Stephen Clay. It's Stephen Dre. It's Stephen Dre. And if you go to Basketball Reference, they take the math behind everything and give a Hall of Fame probability. They have a 76.8% probability of Draymond Green making the Hall of Fame.
And I think that's right. I think that makes sense. You know, my disparaging of the Basketball Hall of Fame aside, saying that it is one of the easier ones to get into, I do think that when you truly watch the game and you sit there and you don't just look at a box score, you understand what a major piece that Draymond is, because he does a lot of the dirty stuff. And as a former offensive lineman, I have to appreciate that and I have to love that, because when you look at offensive linemen and you're judging them on if they should be a Hall of Famer or not, you don't have stats to go by. Or the one stat that you do have to go by is sacks. And guess what? That's
Sacks
not
allowed and starts.
That's not a good stat, right? That's not a good stat for us. So you have to truly watch and see what their technique is and how do they do certain things and how fast are they off the ball.
Or how clean they keep somebody, i.e. Joe Thomas.
Right. Or like when they do take holding calls, is it a smart holding call? Is it a bad one?
Or again, Joe Thomas, who'd had 2 holding calls
his entire career. Right. And so
that's still one of the craziest things ever. I want to say it's 4 holding calls.
He's one of the best.
Entire career.
He's one of the best athletes to ever play the game.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I watch other sports, I find myself doing that all the time. Like my favorite baseball player for the Mariners is J.P. Crawford. And for a long time, this year is a little different because he went and got a new hitting coach, but he did a lot of the unsung stuff. He was a great defensive player. He might not have been the best bat that they had, but he was great at doing the other things, the little things, the leading.
Which usually leads to great teams winning. And I think that
that's Draymond.
The big part about this is we've made this candidacy and we've talked about where he is and where he sits. Has his behavior this year in particular damaged his case in your eyes?
I don't think so, because I think this was going to happen no matter what. When you see a player like this that always plays on the edge, they're always right on that line. When they have the athletic ability or the IQ or just the speed, when they're early in their careers and they're young, they don't have to resort to a lot of the dirty stuff, because they can still get there. They're going to do the dirty stuff every once in a while, but for the most part, they're going to stay clean. What I think you're seeing here with Draymond is he has lost the step. So to be able to hang on for another year or two, he has to resort to more dirty play. That doesn't take him out from being a Hall of Famer in my eyes. Does it make his case a little weaker? Again, I say no, because when you needed him most, he performed at the level that he had to. It's a threshold. Once you meet that threshold, you're not going to go back out of it for me. And Draymond reached that threshold.
The very simple explanation for this for me is why he should and will make it is one name. Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. It's a similar idea.
Dennis Rodman was an absolute S-house of insanity. And his stats were terrible outside of rebounding.
Right.
But everybody knows what he meant to that team as a defender, as a motivator, as a glue guy, all of the hustle, rah-rah, all that kind of stuff. And he's a Hall of Famer. Why? Because you just know it when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's
the eye test.
And I think that's the same across all sports.
Mm-hmm.
You know a Hall of Famer. Again, like I say about talking about telling a story about a particular sport or an era, and you can't tell it without that player. The other part of it is you just know. You look at it and you know. And for me, I don't think this impacts Draymond because, again, Dennis Rodman was much, much, much worse in every level. If he went as far as Kermit Washington and rearranged somebody's face like Kermit Washington did to Rudy Tomjanovich, literally shattering his entire face, maybe we have another discussion. Mm-hmm. Maybe we revisit this and go, yeah, I don't know if this is okay. And some people would argue, well, you got to separate the two. Like one's about basketball, one's not about basketball, blah, blah, blah. But barring O.J. Simpson-esque level of crime, I think it's pretty clear he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Right. I would completely agree. And the comparison I would make is Marty McSorley in the NHL. For those of you who don't know, that was Wayne Gretzky's enforcer. Wherever Wayne went, McSorley went. And at the end of McSorley's career, he started losing a step, and his career ended when he absolutely demolished the face of another enforcer in Vancouver with his hockey stick. And that's how his career ended. But he was doing that because he was trying to send a message. Now, he went way, way further than Draymond. Like, I believe there were actual criminal charges that went his way. But that's what you see when you have a player like this at the end of their career. They start doing crazier and crazier things, and they start trying to get away with crazier and crazier things physically so that they can just hang on. And in my eyes, Draymond's trying to hold on because he knows his days are numbered. He's a smart guy. He knows what he can do, and he sees where the game is going, and he knows he only has a few more years, and so he's going to do everything he can to maximize every single ounce of years and money left.
All right, we're going to take a little break from basketball. I'll spare you for a little while. I will be back. There's a ton going on in the transfer portal. We're going to revisit the transfer portal all over as it pertains to how things are shaking out in the calendar, some names to note, and more, particularly as it pertains to one local quarterback following Jonathan Smith to Michigan State. We'll get to that next year on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. has committed. I shouldn't say it's official because I guess once the portal closes, you can sign your actual letter, but he has indeed committed to Michigan State, and what we all anticipated happened.
You knew this was happening. I mean, shoot, the minute that Smith said he was out, everyone immediately went, how do we keep Martinez? How do we keep Childs? And I mean, he posted on Instagram the day that Smith left a Rod Wave song where it literally was like, goodbye, so long, farewell. Guess who it wasn't ever going to be about?
Jonathan Smith.
Right.
Yeah. So, Jonathan Smith has his quarterback. Aiden Childs, the 4-star quarterback. That they did a great job recruiting him, and you started to see real shine from is following John Smith to Michigan State, and the hits kind of keep coming for Oregon State. I didn't think there was ever a possibility they could keep him. I didn't. And it's a bummer. Had they found a way to do that, it would have been a miracle, and it also would have been pretty cool to see.
I think the only way that you are going to keep him is if his attachment was less to Smith and more to a offensive coordinator, right? So like with Oregon was able originally to get a commitment from Dante Moore, not because of his love for Coach Lanning, but because of his love for Coach Dillingham. And so when Coach Dillingham left Oregon, everyone kind of knew that probably means that Dante Moore is going to leave as well. With a lot of these kids, I mean, I didn't go through the recruiting process.
It's the coach.
A lot of the times it is the coach because people are going to go in and they're going to say, hey, you can't go there for a coach. You can't go there for, playing time. You have to go there because of what you want to go to school for and the community around you. But let's be real about what the world is like. When you get recruited, you can tell immediately if you vibe with a coach or if you don't vibe with a coach. There are recruiting visits that I went on, and look, I never went on any recruiting visit that was as big as Aiden Childs.
Sure.
But I went on a couple of recruiting visits to schools I knew I'm not going there. You don't have my major. But I really like the coach, and I didn't want to say no to the coach. And I think in this case, Aiden Childs, from everything that I hear about him, this is a great kid. He's a stand-up kid. Great family. This isn't like I'm leaving for money or anything like that. He just, to me, clearly fell in love with Coach Smith, and he trusts Coach Smith, and he is going to go wherever Coach Smith goes. There is a reason why
he believes in him, giving him the opportunity to develop and perhaps chase the next level.
Right. He's going to be the best guy for him. But it makes sense, right? He's a good kid from a good family. He was not highly rated originally. He is built up. He's been a much later bloomer. Jonathan Smith
they
was
were there.
The same way.
They were there from the start.
He
identified the traits when he was a 3 or non-star early on in the process. He's a kid from Downey, California, who they were like, this kid, like he was a skinny kid, right?
Right.
They saw him. They saw him sling that thing, and they went, well, there's some stuff here. We could pack a little weight on his frame. Like there's something here we can work with for sure. And lo and behold, he's a high-rated 4-star at the end of the process. And you can speak to this better than me, but being there early in the process, the early love matters.
The first school that ever offered me a scholarship is the school I ended up committing to. Now, to be fair to that, they had everything that I needed, right? They had the major I wanted to go into. I liked the community. I liked the team that was around me, and I liked the coaches.
Relatively close.
And I knew I was going to play right away. It was close enough, but far enough away that there was no surprise visits, right? It was one of those. It was one of those things. Where it
you could go home if you wanted, but you had to make it a real choice.
Right. But it checked all my boxes. But why it checked a lot of my boxes and why I was so excited at first is because they called me and offered me first. And that's what happened here in this case is they offered him first. And
feeling the love is real.
They got a big time transfer, DJU, a 5-star. And guess what? They still made it time for every game for Childs to come in and get some reps.
And that's Jonathan Smith
build.
Knowing.
Exactly.
Got to nurture this guy.
Knowing what he had.
And honestly, it kind of speaks to, Dusty and I were talking about this yesterday, the unique nature that Dylan Gabriel operated under at Oklahoma, where he said, I'm going to play one more year and I will either transfer or go to the NFL. But in that, he offered to nurture a true freshman, groom him to take his place. That's such an insane thing to me. And the crazy competitive world of college football now.
Yeah, but it's not that crazy to me because that's how football works. You don't have success, just one person. And it's a little different than other sports. You know, like in basketball, if you have one or two dudes, like you can really make a run, especially in college basketball. Mm-hmm. In college baseball, you get your bats hot at the right time. You have one dominant pitcher. I mean, LSU with Paul Skeens, they knew if he was going out on the mound, they were winning that game. So it was really, could the other two guys find a way to pitch well enough to win games? So when it comes to football, you have to have everyone there. And I also think that with the way the camp circuit works nowadays, a lot of these guys hang out with each other. They text
each other. They know each other, yeah.
They DM each other, you know? And so they become friends from an early standpoint, even guys who might be 4 years older than another kid because they saw him on the camp circuit or they worked out with them for a certain amount of time. Or guys were making visits to those schools early on because they knew they had an opportunity to play at some of those schools. So none of that shocks me truly because they're still competitive, but everyone has the belief of, I'm going to help this other person move forward, but they're never going to move forward past me because that's how good I am. And I think that's kind of how Dylan Gabriel saw it. And I bet you to a degree, that's how DJU saw it. I bet you Jonathan Smith had a conversation with both quarterbacks where it's like, this is DJU's team. He's our quarterback. He's going to take us far. But Aiden is our future.
And we
so
need to make
Aiden's going to get reps.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure DJU helped him to a degree. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are things where he didn't totally help him with because he's not going to let himself get beat out.
No.
But that's just kind of the new wave of football. Like at offensive line, when I had recruits come in, I was telling them, hey, all these good things. When they got on the line next to me, guess what? I told them tricks and different things that you needed to look out for. Hey, where's the pressure on his hand? Where's the safety at? That might mean a blitz is coming. That guy's back off the ball. He's going to be a looper on this twist. Mm-hmm. Because for me to be successful, my guard has to be successful.
Sure.
And that's what makes the team go. So I think just the nature of football, you have to help out your backup or the people next to you in your position group because it's the only way to reach the heights that you want to reach. Because football sucks if you suck. If your team is horrible, there's nothing worse than being the one-win team in football. If you're going to go through all that hardship and all that pressure, you need to be able and you want to be able to win.
Just to be the Panthers.
Yeah, I guarantee you in that locker room right now, they all hate each other.
Oh, yeah, no, it's going to be tough.
They all hate each other.
And that's it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of rebound or if they don't coming into next year. And Oregon State has announced the non-conference part of their schedule, and we'll talk about that here a little bit later. But coming up next, we will dive further into the transfer portal and what the unfortunate situation of timing means right now to college football. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. I've got the glare on there, and all I can see is the B.
Yeah, me first in the gimme gimmes.
Mine's not.
I don't know the reference. Can you please? I'm so sorry.
What, the camera,
you're
not dying. You can't think of anything better to do.
No,
that's from Ferris Bueller.
I'm meaning
he
your
doesn't know the
shirt.
Oh yeah, they're a punk cover band. They do songs that are not punk songs and turn them into punk songs.
Oh, dude, I love that.
Yeah.
There's a couple bands on like Instagram that do that, and I'll go and download their song. My favorite one right now, this is totally outing myself, don't care. There's this guy, Peyton Parrish. I think Suk talked about him before, but he is a Viking heavy metal singer. His version of the Mulan, I'll Make a Man Out of You, is the greatest song ever.
Look, I went through, if you go on my Spotify, it happens every single year for about a month. I go on a cover spree.
Dude, it's the best.
And there's on my playlist. Okay, so I have this is secret time. My Spotify is like my Spotify Wrapped. I'm in the top 2% of the world in minutes listened.
Just constantly have it going.
It's always on. If I like
multiple devices at the same time.
Yeah, like look, this is how much of a sicko I am. If I'm playing my Xbox,
you don't need to give me any more reasons to think that you're a sicko.
I will be playing a video game, but I will have Spotify running in my headphones.
Okay, yeah.
Like,
I do that. Yeah, I do that too.
If I'm writing, I have it going in my headphones. If I am researching, I have it going in my headphones. If I am driving anywhere, the car is never quiet. Music is just always on. Occasionally podcasts, but it is always on. I have a playlist that is just my liked songs, and it's like 4,000 songs. And it is the most random. That is what I put on. Like I have a bunch of playlists. Like we have one for the show for Metal Mondays. That's like 100 songs. That is just all just like regular metal that I listen to. I have my workout mixes. I have whatever like mood mixes. But my liked is like I will put it on the discover new music thing pretty regularly because I want to expand. I don't want to listen to the same things over and over and over. I try to add new stuff, and part of that leads me down covers. Some of them are absolutely incredible. I'm like, oh, that's a banger.
That's great.
I'm going to add that and I'll discover a new band or something like that. Some of them suck so hard. I'm like, this is an affront to music. How dare you, sir or ma'am? What did you do? There was a who does 11 minutes? Is that Miley Cyrus? No, that's
11 minutes.
Yeah, it's a pop song. It's almost certain it's a female singer pop song, but there's a metal version of it that came on in my covers, and I was like, that's getting added into my workouts. Halsey, there you go.
Oh, Halsey's greatness.
Yeah,
you want to get the original.
Yeah, no, but I mean, Halsey's great. But the metal cover of it, the dude can sing.
He can get after it.
Oh, and I was like, oh, this is good.
There are some great pop, punk covers, like where the pop, or it's a pop song, and the artist, it's a punk band, they go in and take their own. If I was a punk band, I would only do pop covers.
There are bands that do that. They're very
work.
Especially on Spotify, they're much lesser known. There's metal and pop punk and like all of those. Like I feel like Halsey songs are a very distinct.
I think it's an easy transition over because she is, to a degree, a little bit punk.
But her voice and styling and cadence kind of leads to that transition. But all that is to say is like, don't knock the covers.
Yeah.
Also, I should say, if you're watching on YouTube.com, YouTube.com/1080 AM The Fan, Jeff Russ is not the only one rocking t-shirts today. I've got the Top Gun Weapon School t-shirt on today as well.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, so that's there.
Another one, good one pointed out here on the text line too. I had managed to forget about Richard Cheese, great lounge singer.
Oh yes,
artist.
Mr. Dick Cheese himself.
Yes.
That's right. I can say it because it's his name.
That's his name.
I've not heard of the great Richard Cheese. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go.
Did he do the Down with the Sickness?
He might have.
The Michael Bublé.
With the sickness.
Yeah.
The Michael Bublé one. Yeah.
Right.
Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Oh yeah, it's.
Oh, and he went full crooner on.
Oh yeah,
He takes all these songs and turns them into like lounge singer.
Yeah,
crooner. Yeah.
No, and they did that on.
Awesome.
It was a zombie movie with Ving Rhames that it was used in, and it was
that was Dawn of the Dead.
I think it was Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
Yeah, there was that era
One
of
where
like 4 years
where they're in the shopping mall.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I enjoy that one.
They do the
another
target
one on the
practice from
list.
the rooftop, and they're like marking off who like the zombies look like celebrities. Yeah,
That's actually fantastic.
I thought so.
Is that the Hot Fuzz guys?
No.
No.
Well, no, I think
Simon Pegg?
Simon Pegg, I think, was
Was he on the director?
He is in this.
Wasn't he in? Did he not do Dawn of the Dead too?
No, Shaun of the
There was
Dead.
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, you're thinking
Okay,
Shaun of the
okay.
Dead. That's Nick Frost and Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what right now.
Those two guys are great together.
Yes.
My gym playlist is absurd. What genres I will go to, like literally song to song. Yesterday I was on the treadmill for 100 calories. I don't go for like a time or a distance. I go for a certain amount of calories.
The measure that
is the least accurate.
Yes, I would say the one that measures the least accurately.
It's the least accurate, but in my head, there's something good about seeing triple digits on the calories counter. You go, awesome. Now I can have a yogurt and it doesn't count. But
That's what I always think.
I went from Morgan Wallen to 50 Cent to Elton John to Peyton Parrish's cover of the Mulan song. Then I went back to I don't know the name of the band, but it's Maria something. It's a punk song. It's Maria something or other to Marvin Gaye, and I finished off with Lil TJ.
See, that would mess me up because
Quite the journey.
when I'm
It was an experience.
depending on what I'm doing when I'm working out. If I'm lifting, I can vary
Dear
on
Maria, count me in.
on speed of songs. Like BPM, beats per minute. If I am running or if I am on a bike or I am on a cross trainer, elliptical, whatever it is, I need a pace. And I need it to be within that range because I will either speed up or slow down. It's like a metronome in my head.
Really?
Oh God, yeah. No, if all of a sudden it's changing all over the place, it will screw me up. If I'm lifting, it doesn't bother me near as much, but I am too stupid and I just it's the military in me. It's like, oh, there's a pace I need to keep, listen to the beat.
And then just go.
And it just goes.
That makes sense.
But yeah, what you're doing, that would that would break my brain.
I'm a psychopath, and it literally changes day to day. Like there are days where I'll go in there and we are only listening to country today. We are only listening to metal today. And then there's other days where we're going to figure it out. Like I'm not even gonna lie. There are days where Ed Sheeran will pop on in there. Shania Twain's best hits have popped on in there.
I'm not music shaming. I'm just saying you got to pick a lane. Like
early Kesha will pop on in there.
Okay,
dude.
now I'm shaming.
You're gonna shame me?
Yeah.
But what if I told you I only do it when I deadlift 500 plus pounds?
Still shaming.
All right. Well, that's fair. Look, man, my music genres will go all over the place, and I will work out to whatever.
It happens. If you've missed any part of today's show, just remember you can get your podcast wherever you get podcasts. And brought to you by Service Patriots is your home comfort solution for all of your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. All right, we burned through an entire segment there because I completely derailed us. That'll happen.
Squirrel.
That's a squirrel moment and a half. I'm not going to apologize for it. That's how I roll. But coming up next, we will talk about what the transfer portal is doing to quarterbacks in particular. One at Burnt Orange himself, Texas, Malik Murphy is in the transfer portal, and he's not really thrilled about it and the timing of it because what it means not only to him, but his Texas teammates. Coming up next here on Daddy and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. transfer portal is operating as a bit of a lose-lose scenario, particularly as it pertains to quarterback Malik Murphy, who is opting out at Texas because, number one, Quinn Ewers, but number two, Arch Manning. The interesting thing about all of this is that there's a scenario that exists where there's nothing wrong with what Malik Murphy is doing because he's looking at what's going on around him. And even though he won 2 games for Texas this year, he's going to move on, but he's got to do this in a period where Texas is preparing for the college football playoff. So if you're the head coach of Texas and you're Steve Sarkisian, how do you feel about all this?
Well, that stuff's always difficult. You know, Malik's been a great teammate. You know, he's been an awesome guy to have on our team. We wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Malik. And, you know, he won 2 football games for us, but I also understand this day and age of college football, and that's unfortunate that he's been put in kind of this situation, in this position to where, you know, he's trying to look out for his future, but he was part of a team that's competing for a national championship. And so, you know, this kind of structure of how our seasons go throughout the year in college football is not perfect. And we're all learning as we go with now the transfer portal, the early signing period, the college football playoff, and then what it's going to look like next year when we go to 12 teams, and managing that for our own current players, but also for our future players. And so we got to continue to adapt. But it's, again, I love Malik to death. I love the opportunity to coach him. Like I said, he was a great teammate, and wish him nothing but the best of luck.
The idea there, courtesy of Will Kunkel of Fox 26 Houston. And Sark's got a great point in that, look, Quentin Ewers was down for 2 games. Malik Murphy won them 2 games that allowed them to get to the college football playoff. And now he's kind of getting screwed because of the way the transfer portal is working. Malik Murphy's trying to sort through these things and figure these things out. He's been practicing for the Sugar Bowl, and you've got Dylan Gabriel already signing somewhere else. You've got Riley Leonard already signing somewhere else. These top, I mean, Cam Ward has been rumored to go to Ohio State, and Aiden Childs is now at Michigan State. So there's these top positions are opening up, and the market is becoming more and more compressed for Malik Murphy, who is a guy that if he enters the transfer portal day one, is on the top of the list with everyone else. And
easy top 10, might be top 5.
And that's the thing is, so he's trying to stay true to Texas, while also staying true to himself, and everybody understands it. But because of the way this calendar falls, and they have got to fix this, Will, he's left in a situation where he either screws over his team or he screws over himself.
Well, it's classic NCAA. Like, it's not that hard to fix this problem, right? You just have to push back when the transfer portal opens. Here's the real deal. The reason that they have 2 signing days, it's so stupid. It's so that coaches, after, they go through the original signing day, if they missed out or they had a bunch of late flips, they can still go back and try and get other guys who didn't commit for the next signing day. And that's dumb, because when you push up the signing day and you have it before this calendar season ends, because this calendar season doesn't end until until the national championship, you are forcing guys to make a decision. Right now on the Vancouver Ford text line, they're texting in about Dylan Morris. He's also entering the transfer portal, but he's going to stay with the team through the playoffs. I think that actually hurts Morris, and it hurts him in a different way than it would hurt Malik Murphy, right? Malik Murphy, I hate it. I don't want to leave this team, but I know that I'm not going to get an opportunity, or at least not get the opportunity as soon as I want it here at Texas. So I need
because they made the choice, obviously, with Quinn Ewers is staying, and Arch Manning is the next guy up.
And I need to leave to go somewhere else.
But in the meantime, he is the backup quarterback. And if something happens to Quinn Ewers and he's not available, or if he's not a part of this,
you got to go to Manning, who hasn't had much time at all.
And how does he feel about that? Because he went to war with these guys.
Well, and that's it screws over Murphy and it screws over Morris, because you literally have 2 backup quarterbacks that are put in the same spot that have to make the same decision. Murphy chose to leave because he knows he has a legit chance to go out and start right away. Morris is staying with UW, but you can't tell me that by the time that this all ends, let's say UW goes to the national championship game, whether they win or lose, he is going to have missed out on a bunch of schools where he was going to have an option to go to at the FBS level. I wouldn't be shocked if Morris now ends up at an FCS school, if he ends up at a Big Sky school, because all of the other quarterback positions are going to be taken. Because while he's still on that team, coaches are not supposed to have conversations with him.
Which,
that being said,
clear.
They're having the conversations, and
but
the board knows
those spots are getting filled. That's the thing and if you're a coach, are you going to take the word of this quarterback who is with this other team? What if he changes his mind? And now as a coach, you're sitting there going, crap, we promised that, we would hold this spot for him, and he's not, because we're dealing with kids.
Well, here's the other thing.
And they back out, and now the coach is sitting there going, even if they broke the rules, blah, 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 but we know the reality of this. So now they're scrambling. So there's just constant jockeying and trust versus non-trust that just, it's problematic.
Well, and then here's this other issue that comes up. What time does the school that you're going to, when do they start school? When do they start their winter quarter? Or when do they start their winter semester? Because if you're going to transfer somewhere and you're Dylan Morris and they start school before UW is eliminated, are you still able to get into the school? Are you able to participate with your team in winter ball? Because that's a big piece to gaining acceptance with the guys, getting to understand the system, getting to have those meetings. Because in my head, and maybe I'm missing out on something here, but to me, I don't know how you can have a guy that is on the UW football team or on the Texas football team or whatever football team, but be enrolled in another school so that they can participate in the winter stuff as soon as their season is done. It just doesn't make sense. So what the NCAA needs to do is they need to stop worrying about other things. Right now, the NCAA is worried about, well, how much money are we going to have to pay? Are we going to have to create another system? Are we going to have to create another tier above FBS? What they need to do is do what's best for the athletes. And what's best for the athletes is to push everything back. What if you started the day that the transfer portal was able to be opened? What if that didn't happen until the day after the scheduled national championship? I know that's a tough turnaround on coaches, and they're going to start scrambling. But you would have these players like Murphy, like Morris, who don't have to worry about transferring out right away. They can wait until the end of their season, no matter how far they go, and then they can go and look for a new ball club or a new place to play, and they're going to be able to do it at an even playing field, as opposed to right now where I'm not saying Murphy is much better than Morris. Murphy is going to have more offers.
More suitors for sure.
Morris. But who's to say that Morris couldn't have gotten an offer from a Mountain West school? Who's to say that he couldn't have gotten an offer from a Sunbelt school? Where now I feel like by him staying with the team, it might force him to go into an FCS level. And that might be the caliber of player that he is. I mean, he hasn't been able to earn a start over at UW since Penix came in. And when he was playing over at UW, he wasn't anything special. He was a okay quarterback, I guess, but he wasn't going to lead them to national prominence the way that Penix has. So when I look at this, the NCAA has to push stuff back so that they can take care of the players, but they're choosing not to, so that they can almost alleviate some of the pressure on their coaches. And that's so unfortunate from an organization where their job is supposed to take care of the players. That's what they say, and they don't do it.
It's all going to be really interesting to see what the NCAA does or doesn't do, or whatever new governing body that takes over for NCAA football as the NCAA falls to the wayside, which, give it 5 years, it's going to be gone. All right, coming up next, Jeremiah Conklin is in studio, local comedian. You know him, you love him. We'll get to that and more coming up. But first, here's the Big Kahuna with the Sports Center update.
Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Toro Mexican Kitchen. Transport yourself to Baja, Mexico with delicious regional dishes and cocktails. Book your table today at toropdx.com. First on The Fan, the Chargers at the Raiders starts Week 15 in the NFL. Easton Stick and Aiden O'Connell are your starters at quarterback. If you're into that sort of thing, 5:15 kick on Prime Video. The Raiders are 3-point favorites. The next two installments of the Civil War are now scheduled. Oregon will play at Reser Stadium September 14th, 2024, while Oregon State will visit Autzen on September 20th, 2025. Trailblazers back at Moda Center tonight hosting the Jazz. 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports Plus. Jeremy Grant remains in concussion protocol and is out. DeAndre Ayton, Malcolm Brogdon both questionable. Blazers favorites for the first time this season. The spread now stands at 4.5 points. And Basketball Hall of Famer George McGinnis passed away this morning following complications from cardiac arrest suffered last week at his home. McGinnis was drafted into the ABA by his hometown Pacers after a single season in Bloomington. He spent 11 seasons in the ABA and NBA for the Pacers, 76ers, Nuggets, and then a return to the Pacers. He was a two-time ABA champ in Indiana, a three-time ABA All-Star, and three-time NBA All-Star. His number 30 has been retired by the Pacers. George McGinnis was 73. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. Mash the subscribe button and like us for live streaming video and 1080 The Fan on demand.
here. I was ready to Wally Pip Dusty. I was ready to take his job forever, and then I can't even get the microphone.
That's actually why he's not here today. It's not the fact that he's peeing out his butt. It's the fact that it's the fact that you were coming in studio.
You're out of the lineup. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. So
here comes Garrick taking your spot. Good luck getting it back.
So you've got a taping coming up.
Yeah, we're recording my album at Helium Sunday, 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We got a couple local folks opening with me, and yeah, it's gonna be a great time. Got a lot of fun stuff to say.
What kind of goes into recording an album? Like how does that whole process come together? 'Cause I was giving him hell earlier, but when we opened the show about have you ever thought about the idea of the process of throwing yourself on stage and trying to do 5 minutes of stand-up, because eating that golden bleep of death is just one of the most hilarious things to see somebody else do, as long as it's not you doing it.
Yeah, it's like public speaking and spiders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the number two things people are afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
And for this particular album recording, like we talked about earlier, I had a deal set up, and I did a recording in Philly this time last year, and then there's some circumstances that recording's kind of gone into the wind. There been some leadership changes with the company I was working with and that kind of thing. So we're just gonna do it all over again. But I'm really happy about that as far as how I've grown in the last year, and I'm excited about it and getting to do it locally here. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, as far as the process with my process, it's I've been doing hour-long shows for the last probably 3 years pretty regularly.
Which is kind of insane for people that don't understand what it takes to put an hour together, let alone 5, 15, or 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, and then it gets weird when you do other shows and they're like, do 10.
You're like, I got to tighten that up a little bit, huh?
All right, I got 2 jokes. Okay, let's do 2 jokes. But, I don't know. After a while, you just start kind of piecing things together, and in my head, things make sense. It's there's a beginning point and an end point that I want to get to. So, I did it last weekend. This last Sunday, I was in Tacoma, and I did an hour there, and it was I was 55 minutes in the first time I looked at my watch and was like, oh, okay, I guess we got to go. I guess we got to get out of here. So
didn't have the clock down on the floor in front of you?
No, I just keep my watch on.
Okay.
And, it just was pretty natural and felt good. And I was like, okay, if I can do that in front of all the friends here in Portland, then I think it'll work out pretty good. Yeah.
I'll be honest here. So one of my buddies, he really wants to get into stand-up comedy. So I'm asking all of his questions. I texted him today, and so all of his questions are what I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
How does your writing process work, and does it like differ from, if you're taping your album, you're taping your special? How does it differ when do you know, like, hey, we're going to go into the album, I'm ready for an album, I'm ready for a special? How do you know when a joke works? If a joke, you know it's going to work, but it isn't working, how do you fix that? How does that all come about for you?
That's a lot of layers. That's a lot of questions.
I'm an onion guy.
I know. I would not start if I was your buddy, but
just start with saying, don't
do it. It's a terrible, terrible addiction that you'll never get over.
So much so that you're doing it full time now.
Yeah, exactly. It's terrible, terrible idea. But as far as like stuff working and stuff not working, there's, especially here in Portland, there's hundreds of open mics. Like if you're getting a lot of stage time, there's sort of like a system of taking jokes that you're maybe new or maybe you're not sure about or whatever, and then you just kind of slip those in between two jokes that do work, and then get a reaction off of that. A lot of the open mics, it's like just other comics and that kind of thing. And so if you can get any sort of reaction out of those jokes, then you're like, okay, maybe I'm onto something. Writing process, I'm definitely not the person to ask about that because I've never written a joke down in my life.
Really?
No.
So it's just all verbal workshopping?
Yeah. It's just
freestyler?
It's the same. Like, it's the jokes. Like, I have the jokes and they're written in my head, but I just don't write things out. It's not how my brain works.
Even though because you're saying them over and over and over in shows. So even since you're not writing them out, because I know there are some comedians that it's the same.
Sure.
Line for line, word for word, bar for bar, all the way through. For you, is that a little bit different, where it's like there's going to be some variation because you're just kind of not necessarily riffing, but like just little different, little subtle differences show to show.
Yeah, I'll try different stuff out and see how it goes. But I mean, like they're all in my head, so it's always going to be kind of the same, like cadence or the way you say it or word choice, and I'll work on those. But I just I feel like writing it down. And I don't like really watch footage of myself or anything like that. Like everyone has their own process.
Not watching the tape.
Not a big tape guy.
Not a game tape guy.
No.
Not the all one.
No, not a big. I don't know. Just not. It's just not the way I do things. I don't know. So it's more about I guess part of it is my memory's good, luckily. But then there's times when something will come up.
It's not all Molly and bong resin.
Not anymore.
No,
yeah,
okay.
no Twinkie filling and bong resin. But yeah, sometimes someone will say something, or I'll be in the middle of something and I'll remember a joke. I'm like, gosh, so sometimes there is stuff that just sort of falls out of my head while I'm sleeping and then never comes back, and then something will trigger it and I'll be like, oh yeah, that was a good joke. You should try to bring that joke back, And so, I mean, part of it for me is doing that over, I've been doing stand-up for 11 years now. So there's a progression of, jokes that were pretty okay, or that you've added stuff to, or that you've worked into things. And then once you kind of get them all down in a way where you feel good about it, you just try to get something tangible, I recorded an album in 2017. That was my Seamus McGravy album, still available on Bandcamp if you're interested.
There you go.
It's out there, and it's not super cringe. There's still some stuff on there that I'm still doing, but a lot of it's all right, you're a baby, you're just learning, and so I think it's any sort of entertainment or, where you're presenting your ideas to people. Sure. There's going to be times where you're like, oh, I don't know. Don't you feel like that when you listen to you go back and watch your old shows?
Oh God, yeah. If you
oh man,
you watch the very first episode of Outsiders,
what was I doing?
And it was a tire fire. It is so bad, and it was and Joe and I and Shane, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
The growth process over 5 years was so insane. So much we got so comfortable that Shane was dropping F-bombs on TV. So that'll happen.
Too comfy.
Yeah.
Hey, well, the great thing is cable, so not illegal, not getting fined, but still, TV executives get a little. We ain't found that part.
That scared me a little bit. That was just in my earphones.
That's God.
Yeah. What just happened? Is Shane here?
AKA Jeff Rust.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Coughlin in studio. He's got his album recording Sunday night at Helium Comedy Club. Tickets still available.
Tickets still available. Oh yeah, and we'll say this: if you go to my Instagram right now, follow me on Instagram, send me a message. I have 2 free tickets. Somebody can have 2 free tickets if you slide into my DMs and tell me who the World Series MVP in 1987 was. Put that in my DMs, and I'll give you and a friend a ticket to see me on Sunday, 7:00 at Helium Comedy Club. But yeah, go to my Instagram, follow me, and get on my DMs, and I'll send you 2 free tickets.
Definitely come down.
Gotta pick one. Not the first one.
He's just gonna pick one.
Yeah, somebody who has a cute dog in their profile picture, something like that.
Very much so.
Yeah.
You down to stay for another segment?
Yeah. I want to tell you my idea to fix the transfer portal.
Absolutely.
Ooh, we were just talking about that.
I know.
Yeah, no,
I got an idea.
He was listening outside. We made him listen outside.
Yeah, I was just standing in a phone booth with Dan's voice pumped in.
That's our little torture chamber. Out
that's
there.
how they break people.
Yeah, it looks like a little fart booth. We'll get back to Jeremiah Coughlin here in studio. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. No video.
I've got a face for radio.
There you go. Well, that's what this is for, buddy.
Yeah.
I think people with red beards are beautiful. So
See?
you're beautiful in my book, bud.
This is why I came here.
To get gassed up by Will Ortner.
Yeah.
Right.
This big handsome man.
People with red beards, they're the most attractive people I hear.
Wow.
Lots of Travis Kelce comparisons.
Okay. See the red beard?
He thinks he looks like Travis Kelce, but
I
it's
don't
somebody
think people-
very, 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 very drunk said that.
Just
That's better
because
than what I get.
the first time it started at a bar, but it's happening now when people are for sure sober. So
There you go.
That's
a
like when
trend.
somebody once told me I look like Nick Cage.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, yeah, I see
okay.
it. I can see it.
Yeah, I get it.
It's better than Galifianakis. That's what I get.
Yeah.
Or Fat Ed Sheeran.
I get Farva, so I can't really get too mad.
Oh, you do got it. Yeah, have you had the mustache? Still call me 91 radio.
Before we went to break, you said you had a fix for the transfer portal.
So what I'm saying is the NCAA is not just football, right?
It's all of the things,
So
unfortunately.
what you start doing is you have to trade. So the kids just can't go in the transfer portal. So if Cam Ward wants to be a Husky, God, I hope he doesn't. But
sounds like Ohio State.
Good. But either way, if Cam Ward wants to go wherever, so if he wants to go to Ohio State, then Ohio State has to return something to Washington State. And it doesn't have to be a football player. It could be a baseball player. It could be their leading scorer on the women's basketball team.
Is there an exchange rate, though? Like, is the tennis player worth
I mean,
like 1/3 of a baseball player?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's just like when Dame goes to somewhere else for 7 dudes. It's the same thing. Like,
Okay.
so if
So
you
to
want
make sure
Cam Ward, we're taking the starting 5 off your volleyball team.
Okay.
Ooh, what about like recruiting? Because in the NBA and NFL, MLB, you can trade draft picks. What if you get to trade like, hey, Ohio State, you get Cam Ward, but Washington State gets to take your top recruiter?
Yeah, we got this middle schooler who's 6'4", 250.
You get to take the top recruit in 2028.
There you go.
There you go. I like.
See,
You know
this could really get interesting.
You know what else you could do? You get a whatever Ohio State spends on a recruiting visit.
There you go.
Look, man.
Cash considerations.
I'm just gonna say that cash considerations could be pretty wild. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the Oregons and the USCs and the Ohio States and Michigans of the world, their recruiting visits probably cost a little bit more than the old Coug visit.
Well, yeah, Coug visit, you just take them and drop them off in Greek Row and get them,
Schlammered. They wake up in a field with some Cougar gold.
Yeah.
You're telling me that they don't go and tour all the academic buildings?
Yeah.
I thought they were student athletes,
A lot
sir.
of books here.
Do you want to we got a lot of books in this building, but who cares about that? Come on over here. Yeah. We're going to Shakers. What do you think they're shaking in Shakers, huh?
Going to Valhalla.
Salt and pepper.
I've been kicked out of there. Yeah.
All right. Will has a friend who's very much interested in getting into stand-up comedy, and one of the things he was interested in, we were talking about during the break, your kind of origin story. Give us your Marvel origin picture.
So kind of like Will was saying, his friend is, like I was a comedy nerd. Like I grew up watching a lot of stand-up, was very interested in it, but then I didn't start doing stand-up till I was 30, which is kind of old. I mean, you look at, people like Chris Rock or, Eddie Murphy started doing stand-up when he was like 12 years old or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
well, the newest one that just got canceled, Rife, was doing it when he was like 16 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's insane, yeah.
Yeah, very young. And I always kind of felt like, oh, maybe I missed my window, But then there was 2 things that happened. I started working with a guy who had done stand-up like in the 90s locally here, Kim Samuelson. He's probably not listening, but shout out to Kim Samuelson. He was my boss, and we used to just like nerd out, and he was basically like, if you don't do it, like go to an open mic, just try it. If you don't try it, you'll always regret not trying it.
But at least try it.
Right, which was terrible advice because I would have been perfectly happy. I could just be a normal person.
I could have been totally fine and not destroyed my self-esteem for years.
I could have just been a normal person right now. Instead, I'm here. But and the other thing is, like, I had a friend who started going to open mics and doing open mics, and he's not funny, like just 100% not funny. And so I was like, well, if Ben's gonna start going to open mics, then it was just like that kind of like looking across the room, like, well, what am I doing? What am I so scared of? Like one of the first like real.
He's doing it and he sucks.
Yeah, it was like one of the first like real bits I wrote was like on that premise where it's like, I think that's how most girls in this town become exotic dancers. You know?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, we're like, Kelly's showing her boobs? All right, I could do that. Yeah, I've seen them. They're not that great.
They're not great.
Yeah.
She's bringing home money?
Yeah.
I can at least double that.
$150 a night? Come on. I could do the champagne room. So I think that's probably how it works out. I mean, that's how it worked for me. And, 10, 11 years later, here I am. So.
I'm going to ask you to relive your worst moment.
Oh, man.
What was the time when you just absolutely ate it?
There's been some bad ones, like those first open mics. Like if the first open mic I did was in Lads, and it was not even like a comedy open mic. It was just an open mic.
Just
open
do
mic.
Whatever.
Yeah, people singing acoustic guitar songs about how their dad didn't love them or whatever. And
also the same woman who was at the topless bar later that night.
It was Jen A.
She was the waitress.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any like horror stories though. I did an open mic in a gentleman's club in Vegas once.
Oh, Vegas already is
and
not a great place to do it.
That was weird. I mean, I've been ignored during comedy, but not for that reason. And it's like just this Venn diagram of sadness, like open mic comedy and gentleman's club.
Was this what level of gentleman's club is this?
It was the Sapphire. It was like the biggest one, yeah. And they have like a separate room where they do comedy, and it was.
That seems like a weird I want to get my laughs
bad
and rocks off.
It was a bad combo. Yeah, that was probably one of the worst ones. I don't know. There's been, very recently, and these people were all very nice, but I've gotten to the point now where I'm doing like private gigs for people and, like corporate stuff or people's birthdays or whatever. Someone just asked me to do like a squeaky clean church thing. And I was like, ooh, that might be out of my depth. But
you got to button that one up a little bit.
I'm going to need some extra. Give me some of that Jesus money for that. But I know you guys don't pay taxes. Give me some of that money. But I just did a stand-up show in Roseburg, Oregon with at a doctor's office at 11 o'clock Saturday morning. And it was a very nice man. He was a nephrologist, which is a kidney doctor. It was his 60th birthday, and his wife did it to surprise him so that she could like set up the house for the actual birthday party.
Oh, gotcha.
So like we'll send him to this place for an hour, and it was just like all very nice doctor people, and most of them just kind of stared at me. And it's like daylight. It's just not the way to do comedy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we earned it. We earned it that day. That one was definitely
worked for your money, huh?
It was an experience. Yeah, it was like this big. It was kind of like this building where there was just like giant, floor to ceiling windows.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're gonna have to close all these curtains. Like we have to at least make an effort to not feel
to ambiance this a little bit.
11 a.m. on a Saturday. And then I do jokes about my doctor and like urology and all these things, and there was actually like people that do those things, and I was like, oh, they're gonna love this, and they didn't.
They didn't play, huh?
No,
that's not how we do our job.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, we're nice people. What are you talking about? So, I don't know, man. It just depends. There's different crowds and different people. I don't know. You just saw that. Speaking of urology, I'm doing this joke right now. I'm doing this joke about PEMDAS.
Go on.
Do you remember?
Oh yeah, PEMDAS. Yeah,
I used PEMDAS yesterday.
See,
Substitute
and what
teacher.
were you taught when you were a kid to remember PEMDAS?
Parentheses.
No, but wasn't there something to help you remember?
Oh, like a rhyme or whatever?
Yeah.
A mnemonic?
I was going to say, I've been hit in the head a lot.
Okay.
Oh, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Yes.
Damn.
Nailed it. So I was in Tacoma this weekend, and I'm setting this bit up. Thank you for throwing out mnemonic. I didn't think he would know what that means. He's been hitting the head a lot. But
It's weird that triggered it for me.
I was like, what were you? This kid's like shaking his head vigorously. I was like, what were you taught? And he said, pee every morning during a shower.
That's a teacher who knew their audience. That's what that is.
I had a male math teacher.
Probably not to stay the night at that kid's house.
Well, my first question was, were you homeschooled? like, who's saying this to you? And is that person in prison now? And the whole, like, the beginning, the way the joke started was I was in Coos Bay and I heard this lady, and she said, "Please excuse my drug-addicted sister."
Oh.
And I was
I
like,
mean,
that's...
excuse me.
Yeah, and it was like, they tried it the other way.
Bachelor's in?
Nobody has an Aunt Sally.
Apparently, it's a regional thing, you know.
I know, and now I'm
Goose
just...
Bay is the drugs, the guy that pees in the shower is the homeschool kid, or
I think I'm too old for this whole PEMDAS thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember this at
Oh,
all.
You
yeah.
don't remember it?
No,
I remember the Dear Aunt Sally, but I just remembered PEMDAS.
Yeah.
Like that was the device.
enough, yeah.
It was enough for me. It was
Roy
like,
G. Biv, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
See, that one I remember.
You remember that one?
Oh, yeah. Roy G. Biv, absolutely. Colors of the Rainbow.
I'm gonna say that one I don't remember.
And a little bit of a serendipitous moment here, Jeremiah. Ken Samuelson has texted in and says he is indeed listening. Good to hear your
Oh,
voice.
good for him. Hi,
you go.
Ken. Thank you for everything. Thanks for ruining my life, buddy.
It's all your fault. So
Come to my show on Sunday.
there you go. Would you say that Ken and who are some other comedic influences for you?
Yeah, I don't know. People always ask me that, and I don't really ever think of like stand-up comedians as people that like influence me. I don't know, like Farley when I was a kid, like when I was younger, like that kind of just like boisterous, like I don't know, whatever you want to call that.
Slapstick almost.
Slapstick for sure.
physical comedy.
I really like Steve Martin when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But, he's more
Jerk,
like,
man.
yeah, it was more like a song and dance kind of guy and did a bunch of different stuff, but like straight stand up. There's people regionally, like there's a guy named Gabe Rutledge, a guy named Kermit Apio, that are both like Seattle Olympia comics, who are very, very good. My buddy Zoltan, who I'm traveling with this winter, people who have like done a lot to teach me the business part of it. It's like kind of that entrepreneurial thing where it's like, oh, I can be funny, but do I know how to
Make money off
yeah,
it.
book my own gigs,
Yeah.
like sell merch, do all these things that can actually make it so you don't have to, Uber drive
Yeah.
every night, because it can be tough. Yeah, and then like I was really into Doug Stanhope when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Who's, like kind of divisive as far as people either like him a lot or
Sure.
they don't like him, but yeah, and I wouldn't say that my style or anything is like that, but
I mean, I've seen you probably half a dozen times now.
Yeah.
I'd say you're pretty damn unique. Like
Yeah.
I don't think you borrow or steal or
No.
even lightly use from anybody. I think
Sure.
you've got a unique style. And if you want to see Jeremiah, you can see him Sunday night at Helium Comedy Club, 7:00.
yeah.
7:00. Tickets are still available, and like he said, he will. What's your IG handle?
At Jeremiah Coughlin.
At Jeremiah Coughlin. Follow him on IG, and he will randomly select 2 winners to give tickets to come see
Yeah.
him. So if you're, and I will say this just as an unabashed number one plug for Jeremiah, he's good. He's very good. I've seen him a bunch of times.
You're sweet.
Look, I mean, we've been around each other for a long time. We've worked around a lot of the same people, and there's
Small
a reason,
world.
There's a reason why you're successful, because I've seen a lot of bad comedy, but also. Go out and support comedy shows. We have actually a really great comedy scene in Portland, and it has been for a couple of years now. So get out and support your local comedy clubs. Thanks for coming in, man. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, coming up next, we will get to our picks. Even though Dusty's not here, he has texted his picks in, and we will get to those next. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. o'clock. Well, it's 2 o'clock-ish. We're running a little behind. That's what happens when you bring a comedian in studio. You get completely off the clock. So that means it's time to make our picks for this NFL week. Jeff Ross, fire us up. All right, Dusty is not here today, but he did manage to get off the toilet long enough to send his text in. Although, if he's anything like me, maybe he did it from the toilet.
I would bet he did it from the toilet.
Dusty's picks. He's taking the Bengals -3, hosting the Vikings. The Colts -1.5, hosting the Steelers. He's taken the Falcons. They're 3.5-point favorites at the Panthers. The Cowboys, a road dog, +2 at Buffalo. And then the Tennessee Titans, 3-point favorites, hosting the Texans.
Okay. Everybody did pretty crappy last week, right? You went 1-4.
I went 1-4. I believe Dusty also went 1-4.
I also went 1-4. I had my first bad week of the season, and it thankfully somebody's asked me if I actually bet these games. I do, and the reason I have been betting them is because I'm now 38-28-4 on the season. It's been a good year.
Yeah,
I went 1-4, and it was rough.
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
Doug Peterson could have bought me a drink first.
Before that one, right? Yeah, he got all of us
flowers at minimum.
I think we all took some form of that bit of medicine last week. All right, I'm going to run through all of my picks here too. I am going to take the Cowboys +2 at Buffalo. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a road dog. So give me give me them boys against the Bills, which I am never comfortable doing that. That might be the first time this season I've actually bet the Cowboys. Go ahead and give me the Ravens -3.5 at Jacksonville. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence's absolutely insane high ankle sprain is going to be a thing that goes away anytime soon. The Ravens might be playing the best football in the league outside of the 49ers, so give me the Ravens. The Falcons playing the hapless Carolina Panthers. I don't know how this game is -3. Panthers are the worst team in football by a substantial margin. For the love of God, send that entire franchise into the sun. The Lions, you've done me dirty twice now. I took you against the Bears twice and you failed to cover. In fact, you failed to outright win one of them. I'm going to take you against the Denver Broncos because they're not a real team. -4 against the Broncos at home. My final pick in the battle of crappy quarterbacks, give me Minnesota +3 at Cincinnati. Ladies and gentlemen, that is again a road dog. Those are my picks this week. Jeff Ross, what do you got?
I'm going directly against you in about 3 of these contests. I'm taking Cincinnati -3. The Pasternak came crashing back down to earth. They're starting Nick Mullins, the Vikings are. And you know what? I'm all in on Jake Browning. So give me the Bengals -3. The next one, the Browns, 3-point favorites hosting the Bears. I just got 2 words for you. Joe Flacco
is elite.
Yeah, right.
He's got some money coming his way too.
I don't know how this line is this way. Maybe I'm an idiot, and of course my picks the last couple of weeks will support that. The Giants are 6-point dogs at New Orleans. I'm not down with the Tommy DeVito disrespect. Tommy Cutlets can have you taken care of if he so desires. So give me those Giants +6 on the road. Another one I'm against you directly on, Danny. I'm taking Buffalo -2 against the Cowboys. The Cowboys really still haven't beaten anybody good, minus the Eagles. I still don't buy them. I never will. It's going to be cold, too, about 36 degrees.
That is the one hesitation. It's going to be cold. It's Buffalo. It's going to be windy. So how's that going to work out, which is my absolute fear there. Also,
and I don't know what the Cowboys' next best wins are. Maybe the Chargers or the Rams or that shootout over the Seahawks. So I'm riding the Bills -2.
I didn't feel good about it.
Yeah,
I did it while I cringed. Just as a casual thing here. How have you done this year going against me?
Oh, I'm not sure about directly against you.
Look at him. That was such a shot.
Look, yes. Am I a little bit under 500 on the season?
Is there a little smugness there? Yes. Yes, there is.
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is.
Jerk. And finally, another one I'm going directly against you. Jacksonville, 3-point dogs hosting the Ravens. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he looked okay last week. I'm going to take them there.
It's one of those things where he's like,
yeah. Give him 3 points at home. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. So.
I was a little bit surprising that I thought it'd be like a 1.5, and then if it's 1.5, I'd probably take the Jaguars. But the fact that it's the 3.5, I'm just like,
it's a little rich.
Yeah, it's a little much. So, those are our picks this week.
Does Will have some?
I do.
Oh,
I have 5.
Did you make? Oh, you did.
I came prepared.
Oh, fire them off.
All right. First one.
Look at you.
Unlike Dusty, I am happy with Browning, so I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals -3. Love them in that spot. The Vikings, they've come back down to earth. I'm with Danny. I got the Cowboys +2. Here's my issue. They haven't beaten any real teams other than the Eagles, but the Eagles have a bunch of injuries. Here's the thing. I don't think that the Bills are a real team. They got lucky. They really should have lost last week. If Kadarius Toney could do the one thing that every wide receiver has been taught since, fourth grade, they would have lost that game. My next play, I've got the Ravens -3.5 against the Jags. I feel like for the first time, other than Mark Andrews, the Ravens are healthy at the end of the year. I feel like they're going to be the team that ends up winning that 1 seed. They seem to win big games, and they seem to win them going away. I know last week was a little bit of an anomaly for them. I love the Ravens. I've got the Dolphins -8.5 against the Jets. That's a little scary to me, but I do think that Miami, they're going to be upset about what happened against Tennessee. They're going to come out firing on all cylinders, and I will never believe in Zach Wilson ever again. I know I went against him last week and he had a big game. He's not doing it in this game. And then my last pick, I don't think that the Saints should be favored by anyone, let alone to have 6 to the New York Giants. I feel like Daboll has that team humming. And to be honest with you, I really just want to make a lot of inarticulate Italian noises and eat a lot of lasagna and watch Tommy DeVito go off and then watch The Sopranos afterwards.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the Giants.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. How you doing on the year?
I am over 500. However, last weekend was rough. I think
we all got our teeth kicked in last week.
In college football, I'm a game over 500. And in NFL, I believe that I am a game or 2 games over 500. So I am in the positive.
There you go. All right, so those are our picks. Lock them in, ready, ladies and gentlemen. We probably won't talk about Thursday Night Football. Maybe not. Probably not. That game sucks. But we do have our worst day on the web. It's getting bumped back and bumped back and bumped back. So coming up next, we have multiple worst days on the web, and there's a theme, and it's called cheap. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
today's worst day on the web with Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Man, that sucks!
Today's worst day on the web is it's a menage a trois. Stupid.
Ooh.
Man, you're getting this one for free. That's the first one of those you'll ever get free, and the only one of those you'll ever get for free.
I have suitors.
Do you?
Well, I'm not paying for it.
Well,
I don't make enough to pay for it.
Well, you'd be surprised.
There's probably a couple spots in town.
Say, go hang out around Mary's. You might
Sorry that I'm a wholesome person.
you might find something a little cheaper than you
I
think.
don't frequent those places.
Well, sounds like you're missing out. Speaking of missing out, the get in, there's a theme to all of these, and it's cheap and it's money. The get in price for Sunday's game, the Carolina Panthers, is at 45 cents. Not dollars, cents. There are places in this country that will not take change, and yet you can get into that game for less than $1.
You can get in for less than 2 quarters. That's math.
Thanks.
I got you, dude. I'm helping you out.
Thanks.
I'll tell you what, that's still too expensive.
Yeah,
You're not getting me to go.
No, that
They should pay me.
yeah. I was just gonna say that's you're literally paying money to sit out in the cold.
Yeah, because your team sucks.
Let's take a quick
The only reason to go
Apparently, I think
would
it's supposed to be pretty wet on Sunday, too. Like a lot of rain.
See, the only reason to go, who are they playing again? Who's Carolina playing?
Atlanta.
The only reason to go is if you are like a family member of a Falcon player. Or like I guess you're like a really big Bryce Young fan and you think maybe he'll figure it out.
You got his sibling making his debut for the Panthers.
Right. Like that's
Got signed off the practice squad.
That's the only reason to go. Otherwise, why would you subject yourself to that? There are better things to do. Just sit at home
Sunday's
and watch
weather
Red
is
Zone.
54 and raining with
Yeah,
a
that's-
low of 45, breezy with rain, heavy at times.
That's gross. No chance I'm going.
Localized flooding. So yeah, you're paying me to go sit in the rain. It's just, or I'm paying to sit in the rain.
You're paying to sit in the rain.
And I don't think Bank of America Stadium is like just chilling there.
No, especially where you'd buy them. You're in the 500, so you're out. You're at the top end. You probably can't even see the players. People are gonna look like ants. Don't pay to go to a Panthers game. There's no reason. They're tanking, or at least they should be tanking, and they're just so bad that they don't know how to tank. But there's no reason to go. There's no reason to pay 45 cents. Security might let you just sneak in for free.
See, because then you're paying for all the concessions and stuff, too.
Yeah,
That's
I bet
where
you.
they get you.
Yeah, I'm saying.
And
I
there's a
bet you
2-drink minimum.
I mean, are they worth a $12 beer?
There's no way that beer's $12 anymore.
Oh, you know what? That location of that stadium is like smack dab in the middle of the city.
Maybe some of the houseless people will want to go.
I feel like it's probably better to be houseless there than it is here. But I mean, judging by the weather, it's
warmer.
about this. I mean, is it? It's been like 50 degrees,
You'll get the
54.
hurricanes
You're
and
like,
stuff down there, though, too.
yeah.
Yeah, but like then you get never
The
mind.
occasional warm day.
I just feel like it's
or were you about
warmer.
to say you get a bath?
No, I would never say that, Danny. That would never be a joke that I would make. That would be insensitive. But maybe.
That's why Danny would make it.
That's why I let him do it. No, I feel like in the long run, you'd want to be there, right? Because it's going to be warmer. It's going to be more humid and muggier, but I'd rather be somewhere warmer. And you don't have to really deal with snow in the Carolinas, do you?
I think it does occasionally.
Like, I feel like it's colder here and you have to deal with the rain all the time. Where over there, you're not having to deal with that as much.
No, you get the weird stuff.
Yeah, but I'd rather have weird stuff than rain all the time.
Can we just get the part where he just says, I'd rather deal with weird stuff? Just that alone is good. But we're not done here. What would you say if I told you that a legal defense for criminals shoplifting was that the charges should be lowered because what they stole was on sale?
I kind of agree. Right?
Go on.
Well, because aren't there layers to it? Like if you go and you're stealing stuff, right? Doesn't it become a felony if you steal a certain amount of things that are
Larceny.
higher in price?
$5,000, yes.
Right. So like
Not that I know anything about that.
Right. So like the bling ring that went in and stole all of the jewelry from the rich celebrities, they might have stole less things than someone who went in to, I don't know, like a cheaper store, like a Ross or a Burlington Coat Factory type of store, where they might have stolen more items, but because the items that they stole were less, they would have more of like a misdemeanor charge, where like the felony would happen to the people who stole from the celebrities because they were stealing jewelry. So to me, that kind of makes sense, I guess. Like, doesn't that sound like an okay argument to me? Like, to me, it would. Am I really out in left field here?
Well,
The price is the price.
When you get to grand theft or grand larceny, it is when it reaches a certain like dollar amount.
$5,000 is usually the line.
Right. So, I mean, I guess maybe if you're arguing that, the on sale items put it under the 5,000, okay, but I don't know.
This is in this case it doesn't do that.
It's pretty black and white. You stole it.
Well, yeah, you should still get in trouble, but the difference between a felony and a misdemeanor.
Well, that's what they're trying to say is they're charged with felonies and their lawyers arguing for misdemeanor.
How much did they steal?
I don't remember what it said in the thing. Anyway, one guy got like 90 days
in jail.
Yeah.
Well, can't do it.
And it was a 50-year-old and a 37-year-old.
Yeah, okay, that kind of changes it a little bit. Like, I feel like
not
maybe
just a couple dumb kids.
Right, like maybe the 50-year-old should get a little more time. Like, you should know better at 50, I would hope.
Basically,
37, you're still a pretty grown-ass man.
Oh, yeah.
That's fair. 37, no offense to the 37-year-olds, seems pretty far away from a 26-year-old.
No, it is. It is leaps and bounds away from that. But we also have one more stupid thing. The wonderful establishment that is Wingstop has a sponsorship deal going with the Detroit Pistons, where if the Pistons win, you get to get 5 free wings with your online purchase.
It's fantastic.
Decent deal. Yeah. It's not a free chalupa for 100 points.
Yeah,
level of deal.
It's no
which is goated.
Nothing will ever top the chalupa.
Look, they stopped taking those damn coupons at the Taco Bell across from Moda because they were getting slammed after games. They're like, "Nah, Doug, you want to use this here? You got to come back tomorrow." But seriously, that was like that was an issue.
I get it. That was the main thing. Hey, they scored 100 points. Where is the nearest Taco Bell?
We chanted chalupa.
Oh, I remember those days. I'm young enough. Well, I'm just old enough to remember the chalupa days.
Shout out Luke Babbitt, the chalupa king.
Dude, love Luke Babbitt.
But the Pistons have a 21-game losing streak, so Wingstop is getting the promotion, but not having to pay this out. So it's working out for them relatively well, although there's been some investigative journalism done that has shown that the Wingstop logo used to appear directly under the score on the social postings. It is now moving further and further and further away from the score on the social media postings as the losing streak increases.
Well, because Wingstop was winning. Wingstop was out there putting up 123 on them, and there's nothing the Pistons could do. What a great deal, too. Because
it's win-win for both. The Pistons get the money from Wingstop, and Wingstop doesn't have to pay out the promotion.
100%. Well, and guess what?
But also, you're getting promotion because they suck so much.
Yeah, as a consumer, guess who thinks about Wingstop more than they ever have? Me, because I keep seeing people on Twitter or X make fun of the Pistons for losing and having Wingstop giving away free wings if they ever win again.
But also,
they've not won since before Halloween.
October 28th. But also think about this. What do you want when you don't feel good?
I want wings.
Right?
I love wings.
This want wingy.
Exactly.
This is perfect chicken wing season. When it's kind of cold, I need a little kick to heat up.
Little mango habanero?
No, dude, I go right for the classic. I want the buffalo.
That's fair.
I'm a buffalo guy. Or a little bit of honey barbecue.
Everybody goes for the lemon pepper, and I'm just...
That's not my thing.
It's okay.
I'm not a lemon pepper guy.
It's entirely okay.
I enjoy the Wingstop. I've had it a couple times. They need more variety.
Yes,
on the sauces.
They want to stay away from being B-dubs,
right?
But
there's a couple things you could add to round out your rotation.
Well, I also feel like when you are a wing spot, like how much difference in variation can you get in the sauces? Like the taste. That's going to vary greatly, right? Mm-hmm. Like there are better wing places and worse wing places, but I feel like for the most part, you are going to have the same, or at least the same name of like, try this sauce, try that
Clearly,
sauce.
You've never been to Fire on the Mountain.
I have been to Fire on the Mountain.
Okay, they're very different.
It's been a long time. Dude, Fire on the Mountain?
Peanut sauce?
Great.
How many places are running peanut sauce?
They have peanut. Is it the fire peanut sauce?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? I have had that. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time. I haven't had Fire on the Mountain since high school.
They have Brazilian cilantro lime. Yeah, I know. I know these things because I have the sauces at home.
Ooh, look at you. So you know what?
I make my own wings at home.
I apologize.
See?
To Fire on the Mountain.
I do have a
Fire on the
couple of
Mountain
the-
is greatness.
I do have a couple of the B-Dub ones at home. The spicy garlic and the Asian zing.
Oh, the 2 winners right there. Absolutely.
Dude, fire.
So yeah, there's your that's your grouping there of your money linked cheapness as it pertains to our worst day on the web. I like that.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't have a lot of money and likes lots of money cheapness.
And all the free advertising we just gave to like 8 different companies.
I know, right?
I'm sure I'll get a phone call about that. Coming up next. Oops. Sometimes you just want to take your ball and go home, even if it's not yours. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
I hear they got some tasty burgers.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Your new floors are in stock and ready to install at PG Long, your Northwest flooring experts, pglongllc.com. First on The Fan, the Chargers at the Raiders starts Week 15 in the NFL. Easton Stick and Aiden O'Connell are your starters at quarterback if you're so inclined. 5:15 kick on Prime Video. The Raiders are 3-point favorites. The next 2 installments of the Civil War are now on the schedule. Oregon will play at Reser Stadium September 14th, 2024, while Oregon State will visit Autzen on September 20th, 2025. The Trailblazers back at Moda Center tonight hosting the Jazz. 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports Plus. Jeremy Grant remains in concussion protocol. He is out. DeAndre Ayton, Malcolm Brogdon are questionable. The Blazers favorites for the first time this season. The spread now is at 4.5 points. And Basketball Hall of Famer George McGinnis passed away this morning following complications from cardiac arrest suffered last week at his home. McGinnis was drafted into the ABA by his hometown Pacers after a single season in Bloomington. He spent 11 seasons in the ABA and NBA for the Pacers, 76ers, Nuggets, and then a second stint with the Pacers. He was a 2-time ABA champ in Indiana, a 3-time ABA All-Star, and 3-time NBA All-Star. His number 30 has been retired by the Pacers. George McGinnis was 73. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rush at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Tony Spezza here.
because somebody took his ball and went home. What you probably aren't aware of is that Giannis Antetokounmpo went for 64 points in a franchise record for the Milwaukee Bucks last night against the Indianapolis Pacers in a game that was absolutely bonkers. Giannis finishes with 64, 26 of it coming in the fourth quarter. 26 points in a quarter is absolutely bonkers.
There's a reason why he's the freak, man.
I mean, that's not supposed to happen.
You also saw, I think for the first time in his career, you saw a very angry and upset Giannis Antetokounmpo.
You did. And again, he finishes with 64 points, 14 rebounds, just an utterly dominant performance. 20 of 28 from the field, 24 of 32 from the free throw line, 4 steals, a block, and 4 turnovers. He's a plus 29 on the night, Damian Lillard, with 21, 6, and 4. Final score of this, 140 to 126, a high-scoring affair. But what came out of this was the game was not out of reach, so to speak. But the Pacers started to claw back in ever so slightly in the fourth quarter. And Giannis had already sat down. And so he checks back in. And he picks up, I want to say, 8 more points to get him to the franchise record, 64. Mm-hmm. And again, the final margin of victory here is 14. It wasn't quite that far apart, and it also wasn't quite that close. But Giannis definitely, there's a little bit of a budding rivalry between the Bucks and the Pacers, which I love.
It's good for basketball.
It is. You're two small markets, 2 absolute superstars in Giannis Antetokounmpo and Tyrese Halliburton on the rise. Obviously, Damian Lillard. Mm-hmm. But these teams have played each other a lot. They had the game where the Pacers beat the Bucks in the in-season tournament to move on, where things got, I wouldn't say heated, but definitely a little chippy. And that carried over again into this game where originally it was thought that Rick Carlisle, head coach of the Pacers, was kind of taking his ball and going home because he wasn't thrilled about the fact that Giannis kind of poured it on late.
He's also known as a red ass.
Oh God, yes, he is, and he has loosened up in his older years with Tyrese Halliburton. He's kind of given the reins over the offense and not quite running things as rigidly as he has in his coaching past in Dallas. But everybody just kind of leaned to the fact that it was probably red ass Rick being red ass Rick.
Right.
But what it actually was rookie Oscar Tshiebwe scored his first points. And so the Pacers took the ball. That is very, very, very normal. Mm-hmm. Your first points, you get the ball. So, but I don't believe that at this point Giannis understands that that's what transpired. And so I mean this in the most flattering way possible. He brought very strong immigrant energy to you're going to disrespect me? I worked incredibly hard for everything that I have. And you will not disrespect me in this manner. I just set a franchise record. Do you understand what I'm saying? That whole idea of I came from nothing, and you will not disrespect me in this moment of greatness.
Yeah, I understand in the fact of the game was already getting chippy. Mm-hmm. It seems like these are 2 franchises that don't love each other. So it feels like a complete act of disrespect, but it also feels like, as an outsider, a third party, the Pacers didn't communicate with the Bucks. The Bucks did not communicate with the Pacers. How are the Pacers supposed to know if Giannis broke a franchise record? A lot of great players have played in Milwaukee for the Bucks. I didn't know that 64 was their top. There's a chance the Pacers might not have known. There's also a chance with the Bucks and Giannis that they didn't know that was that rookie's first points, right? And so it seems to me like you just have 2 teams that don't like each other and didn't want to talk to each other, didn't want to do a handshake at the end. And so the Pacers were like, well, we just have the ball right here. We're going to do this. And the Bucks are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is a complete act of disrespect. How dare you? And then the Pacers are like, there's no disrespect here. You're the ones being disrespectful. How dare you go get extra points for Giannis in a game that was already over?
Following the game, Giannis had this to say about the entire situation.
I knew they had the game ball. I didn't think they had the game ball. I knew they had the ball. First of all, you cannot. I don't know how it works, but I assume I cannot just walk in any arena that I play and just take the ball. Dame was 5th of all time. I scored 60. At the end of the day, the ball that they gave us, I offered it to Dame. I scored 60. He scored multiple times 60. He scored 70, and he should have the ball. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's fair for anybody. And I understand, when you score your first point in the NBA, you want to have the ball or whatever the case might be. But at the end of the day, we're talking about the guy that skipped Kyle Korver in the all-time list, and
basically what he's referring to there is Damian Lillard became 5th all time on the 3-point leaderboard last night. Dame's going to end up top 3 when it's all said and done. It's going to be Steph, Harden, and Dame, or Steph, Dame, and Harden. That's the order it's going to go here in a couple years, barring something changing. But yeah, I mean that's a big feat. That's a massive top 5 3-point shooter of all time. Also, Giannis set his career high. He set the Bucks franchise career high. In the pantheon of things, those are greater achievements, so to speak. But your first points in the NBA, that's a monumental occurrence. I think that the way this should have gone was there's two balls for the game. Right. One goes to the kid, one goes to Dame or Giannis. They figured out. If Giannis wants to go in there and grab the other ball for Dame or for him, you do what you do when you win a jersey as a veteran. And somebody else has it. And you make a direct deposit into that young guy's bank account.
Right. Or there is a nice Rolex or a nice car.
There's an exchange of goods or services that is taken care of that is a reflection of said. Look, you get there towards the end and your kid goes, "Hey, Dad, where's your first game ball?" Giannis came in the locker room and stole it.
Right, and then you keep.
But I got this $250,000 Rolex.
100%. Or you get your first bucket scored at home. Right?
Yeah.
Or your first bucket scored on the road. The team will make it back up to you on the back end.
Something.
But 100%. I think that Giannis or Dame, because look.
Hell, it could be a cool story. Yeah, I scored my first points. Giannis dropped 64 on us, and he came and got the ball, and he gave me his game jersey from that game to kind of hang instead, and then your college fund was paid for by him.
Right. The
Giannis Scupo college fund is because we didn't have that game ball. So we're good without the game ball.
100%. And I wonder too, to a degree, if with the Pacers, this might be a guy that not going to get a lot of NBA minutes.
Oscar Tshiebwe is a second-round pick. He's entirely fine. He's a guy the Blazers brought in for workouts. He's one of the best rebounders in college basketball history.
So then he'll be fine, and he'll have a chance to get another game ball, right? He'll have his opportunities, but I do think what Giannis and what Dame achieved in that game is greater. Therefore, they get the ball.
And I don't disagree, but for those that don't understand, Giannis went sprinting off the court into the Pacers tunnel.
He had to get almost not
security.
Tackled,
Security had to be stopped. Brought him back in. Tyrese Halliburton and Damian Lillard are still on the floor, and they're talking back and forth. And I have an understanding of kind of what happened there was Halliburton was repeatedly saying over and over again, "Look, I understand what's happening. I'm not the one who did it." Over and over again.
Leave me alone.
We'll figure it out.
It'll be okay.
Please, I think he was genuinely afraid because, to be totally blunt, Giannis was pissed.
He's probably top 5 scariest individuals in the NBA.
Oh, you do not.
Top 3, maybe?
Walking by that human being you just look at him and you go,
he's tall, he's jacked, he's fast,
he's 7'2", and he's built quite literally like a Greek god.
Yeah.
And it's just you just look at him and you go, all right.
I'd be scared of him. The irony is he's still not the scariest big man in the league.
No.
He actually might be the 3rd.
No, again, terrifying stuff, but the NBA is just in a weird spot. The drama will not go away, whether it's Draymond Green or arguing over balls.
Sometimes those two coincide. It's a nice little Venn diagram. Draymond Green
or balls getting kicked.
Arguing over balls. Draymond Green kicks you in the groin.
In the giblets. There you go. All right. We'll put a bow on today's show and get you ready for Will and Zook. Yeah?
Yeah. A lot of big guys.
You're going to be here for round 2. We're going to keep it going. I guess that's next. Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. is demanding that the college football playoff include Georgia and Florida State and the Orange Bowl as part of the college football playoff.
I love when they grift about sports, when it has, like, this
sports grifting has become a real thing no matter where you are, whether you're in business, politics. It's like it's the appeal to the base level of ignorance of, well, I mean, it's, to be entirely fair, we all react to it.
Because this is 100% a politician that
base
goes,
instincts.
Hey, my base would like if I do this. There's no cons to this. Nothing will actually happen. I will say.
And it transcends regardless of which side of the aisle you're on.
100%. Hey, you should make Georgia, Florida State a part of the college football playoff. And then everyone's going to go, yeah! Give him 4 more years.
Because if you're red and the blue guy says that, you can't say no. And if you're blue and the red guy says that, you can't say no.
What's funny is, well, look, this guy's in Georgia, and if you saw a picture of him, I'm guessing I could probably
right out of
correctly
Central
identify which side he's on.
Yeah.
Right.
But these are all the same people that would most likely be bitching about participation trophies.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Well, unless Georgia's included.
Right. And gets left out. Yeah.
SEC.
But then it's not about participation trophies. Then it's we got screwed.
No participation trophies. Yeah, it's a win-win. There's no failure here. There will be a couple people who see through it, and half his base won't see through it. They'll be like, yeah, no, completely agree. I want a politician that's fighting for my rights and fighting for my things. It's the perfect move. I get why he does it.
On a sadder note, RIP to George McGinnis, great Indiana Pacer. He passed away early this morning. The NBA is send out their mornings, as it were. McGinnis, absolute dude. I met him traveling once with the Pacers. I want to say like 7-8 years ago. Mm-hmm. But we're reaching that age where you're like, there's a certain era of NFL and NBA and MLB star from at least like when I was super young, they're now very old.
They're starting to go.
You're starting to see them go, and it's kind of like, oh, I'm getting old. This sucks. Like, this isn't cool.
See, and
Fart hammer.